You guys know I don't really do reviews or build guides, and we mainly focus on lore and story content, and I have to say, I've been in love with this game and I honestly didn't expect to. Playing games may be my job, but I have biases, and although I enjoy all genres, there are some that just don't appeal to me. So why did this game capture my interest? Well, let's dive in. I won't be discussing the main story too much, but there could be some unavoidable spoilers, so please watch with discretion. Since this is an early access game, there could be several changes to the game from now until its full release, so some of the things I bring up are only intended for an analysis of the game to help you determine if No Rest for the Wicked is something that deserves your attention. I had seen gameplay and had read about No Rest for the Wicked prior to early access, but I'll be honest, the description of a slow-paced ARPG with Dark Souls elements didn't really appeal to me. No Rest for the Wicked was developed by Moon Studios, the same group that brought you the Ori series, and the game is very beautiful. Very similar to the Ori series, however in a different way. The art style reminds me of Darkest Dungeon, and that's not a bad thing. I'm a longtime player of ARPGs such as Diablo, Grim Dawn, Titan Quest, and have some experience with Souls games, but I did not see how the two could work well with an audience or player that prefers one or the other type of mechanics. No Rest for the Wicked is so much more than just an ARPG meets Souls type game. Yes, there are elements of those games in this experience, but it seems to try to take the best parts of those games and weave them into an ARPG that is thick on story and immersion. Having played the game quite a lot, I can say that there are even aspects of city building, crafting, survival Skyrim, and even MMOs. The game tells you that you are an ancient warrior known as a Serum. Now think Beowulf, asked to assist a distant country that is experiencing troubles that your kind has resolved in times past. Many of the crew on the ship tasked with bringing you to their native land are polarized by your presence. They either dismiss you or are in awestruck disbelief.
You put the men on edge, Serum. We've trafficked in people before, but, well, I won't be sorry to be out of these waters. You off my ship.
If you're wondering if there are nods to Souls titles, then look no further than the tutorial. Crashing into barrels? Check. Targeting enemies? Check. Parrying? Check. White glowing loot? Check. The loot system is a little unique, and I'll go over that in just a minute. The camera system is fixed, and you cannot move the camera around, which is a pretty consistent feature in most ARPGs. But games like Diablo usually have your character in the center of the scene so as to maximize your view. I've read a lot of complaints about the camera in this game, however, I cannot validate any strong example where this camera was directly obscuring my ability to see the environment or enemies. There were moments where I was put off a little by thinking that it'd be nice to see more of the next room to determine if I need to prepare. But they were almost always met with a surprise vista or out of nowhere enemy attack. The pacing is such that these encounters were genuinely surprising, and if the camera had revealed them, then the effect would have been lost. All things considered, the lock camera wasn't something I expected to like, but the devs have certainly done a good job in ensuring that the play is not affected and, I would argue, enhanced by the camera position. Healing. From Estus Flask, restoration spells to healing potions, every game has a mechanic to assist in recovering your health. In No Rest for the Wicked, you heal yourself primarily through food. There are various food items in the world that you can eat raw for some effect, although substantially less effect than the prepared foods. Mushrooms, for instance, can be eaten, and let me tell you, there are a lot of mushrooms. I was collecting mushrooms like the Inquisitor from Dragon Age collecting elf fruit. I don't have an addiction to collecting mushrooms. I can stop whenever I want. However, if you combine mushrooms with an herb, you can make mushroom soup that instantly heals you for 35 health, although there is a cooldown on heals. This is one of the very subtle mechanics that I really appreciate, as it lent itself to some immersion. Although magic exists in the world, I am not limited to a mysterious potion or magic to heal. I simply eat healthy foods. But let me just add that some of the recipes sound absolutely divine. Props to the devs for making me hungry while playing an ARPG. Did you hear me say recipes? Why, yes, you aren't limited to mushrooms for your journey. You can cook meat, fish, crab, potatoes, and a whole lot more. You can buy some recipes, but others are given to you as quest rewards. There are some recipes that add bonuses to your stats, like stamina. Similar foods can be stacked up to 20 at a time, so I encourage you to find these recipes and have them ready for your next encounter. Loot. We can't discuss an RPG without discussing the loot. No Rest for the Wicked handles the loot table very simply, in that the same type items will fall based on your level with a small degree of stat changes. You may find a tunic that has the exact same stats as another similar tunic, but the first one may be lighter or have less armor. On the surface, this is not ideal, as the loot is the same despite dropping off randomly or found in the environment. But there is a system here that is mitigating RNG on your behalf. So, hear me out. The game has a system that allows you to do what's called infuse, enchant, and or rune an item. So, although you can find a random item with good stats and enchanted bonuses, you are limited to what has actually dropped. An item naturally has 4 gem slots, and you can infuse your item with various gems that you find to amplify the attack or defense of that item based on your playstyle and preference. Items also have runic abilities that unlock when you generate focus. Focus is generated by combat actions like fighting or parrying, and your items have innate runic abilities, but they can be added for even more customization. So you may have an item that commonly drops, but if you add any or all of these features, then it suddenly becomes an item that you cannot replace despite leveling in areas 10 levels or more than where you originally acquired the item. And that is fantastic when you think about it. Yes, you can get an amazing item through RNG, but the game has a built-in mechanic that lets you customize your own S-tier item. If you don't have any gems or shards that you could infuse, then you could always ask the enchantress to enchant your items, and that will give you a series of random enhancements to your item that may or may not be helpful to your playstyle. If you enchant an item, then most of those gem slots go away, and you lose the ability to alter the item of your choosing. When you enchant an item, there is a possibility that they can become rare or cursed. Rare items offer all positive enhancements, while cursed items offer better enhancements but with a negative effect. So you may enchant an item with great bonuses only to acquire something like a decrease to your overall health. It is up to you as a player to determine if the pros outweigh the cons. Although this mechanic isn't unique on its own, it seems to combine elements of modifiable items like in MMOs, enchanting similar to open world RPGs and the random drop stats of a traditional ARPG. If the content is something that you're enjoying, then we would be happy to have you join the Legion. Subs are always free in YouTube, and don't forget to hit the notification bell to get alerts when we go live or post a new video. I haven't been able to post a video in the past couple months due to some health issues, but we're always working on things and have a lot planned for the next few months. Let us know in the comments if you would like to see more videos about No Rest for the Wicked. Thank you all for supporting the channel. Along with cooking recipes, there are blueprints we can acquire to make our own loot. The great thing about some of these crafting options is that they appear to be fairly unique, and I honestly hope that the developers add more crafting options. I would also ask that the blueprints and add descriptions, as they only give the name of the item and do not specify what type of item it is or what resources would be required to make them. I cannot tell you how many resources I found that were taking up my immediate inventory space that were sold only to realize that I needed them for an unlocked blueprint later on. The items that vendors sell are directly related to their accommodations in town, and you'll have the option to contribute to building projects that will restore the town to its former glory. Doing so will unlock advanced items, resources, and blueprints from the vendor, as well as seeing a cosmetic improvement to the town. Performing building improvements take time, and if the game says it will take 1 hour, that means 60 in real life minutes, not game minutes similar to Dragon Age Inquisition. I am unsure how I feel about this, but I never really felt like I was finding resources faster than it became an inconvenience, as the quests and combat quickly swallow up the time waiting for the project to complete. Improving the inn will allow you to rest, and you'll acquire a rested bonus by resting for 4 hours or more, again, IRL hours. It isn't clear what this bonus is, but I believe it will give you about 20% more health when you return. Although this isn't much, it is more than the devs had to do. I don't know of a game genre aside from MMOs that reward you for resting and logging out in a safe place. Kudos for the extra subtle immersion, but I would also ask for an option for the bed to give me a quick refill on health so that I don't have to use a food item. Durability loss for items in games is something that always brings out the discussions. I can say that for immersion purposes, I don't hate the concept, but I definitely don't think that items should break once they reach 0. Watch your durability close, as tools such as axes, mining picks, shovels, and fishing poles will break if you don't repair them. You can repair at a blacksmith or with repair powder. The idea of repair powder was pretty hilarious to me and reminded me of the crazy voodoo magic that Repair Putty does in Pacific Drive. At the moment, repair costs nothing in the opening act, and the blacksmith has never cost me more than 1 silver in the following act. However, it would be nice if repairing at 100% gave a slight bonus to tools so that the first tree, ore, fish, or dug hole could be done slightly faster. In my own opinion, tools were, in real life, made to last. I still have tools that my wife gave me over 25 years ago, and they're doing just fine. Tools are designed to take a beating, so they should actually last you longer than any weapon or armor that is constantly exposed to unusual wear and tear. If durability remains a significant portion of this game, then tools, more than anything, need a significant stat increase. The last thing I need to be concerned about as an ancient warrior is my fishing pole. The combat in this game is pretty good, and I really enjoyed the 1v1 moments when it was just my character and an enemy circling each other, daring the next one to make a move. The enemy AI seems pretty good, and they seem to know when to step back if you are a quick stepper. But other enemies that are prone to throw themselves at you try to track your position before charging forward. Dodging is pretty interesting in this game because there are 3 equipment load types that result in different options. Equipment loads only apply to equipped gear and not the total items that you're carrying. If you're lightly geared, then you can quick step and dance around the battlefield. Normal geared heroes will roll around and are similar to your traditional Dark Souls style form of dodging. The heavily equipped hero will result in a slow roll, think fat rolling, but unlocks the ability to do a shoulder attack that staggers enemies. Enemies will not respawn when you die. There seems to be some enemies that seem to respawn on a timer, but as you progress your story, then areas that have previously been explored become unlocked, and the enemies in those areas are filled with types that are closer to your level. I really enjoyed this as opposed to farming an area over and over just for the XP. The encounters are balanced, and keeping the farming of enemies low allows for a more challenging experience. One other thing I was not expecting to see is daily and weekly challenges and bounties. I won't lie, when I saw this I kinda died a little remembering the Radiant quests from Skyrim and the filler quests of MMOs. The redeeming thing about these quests is that they reward you with items, money, and or blueprints. But I would ask that the devs look into rewarding unique items and blueprints, ones that cannot be acquired except through the rare drop an enemy or inside of a chest. I was pretty disappointed about clearing an entire area and finding the bandit in question, only to get a reward of 2 identical recipes and ones that were already known to me. Oh well. At least I was able to sell them for a few coppers. There were a few moments where the game really surprised me with some gamer logic. I won't get too specific, but there was a quest or two that asked me to do questionable things, and upon thinking about the quest as I approached the location of the items, that the NPCs would make comments that I was able to eavesdrop or have clarified in order to satisfy the questions that I had about the task. There's definitely some next level thinking when it came to developing these glorified fetch quests, and I hope that trend continues with the updates for this game still in early access. The verticality of this game is pretty interesting, and it makes a relatively small map large and entertaining. There are areas that seem like dead ends, but ended up looking like an instance where you could explore even further. I really hope that they add more instance-style quests to further expand in these areas. They don't have to be especially large, but if they add a location that you could step into an encounter of like a special mini-boss or collect a treasure by figuring out a puzzle, then it would be a Zelda-like, and I wouldn't hate that. Speaking of puzzles, they exist in this game, and although I didn't get stumped a whole lot, I can say that this game is pretty unique with the ability to perform actions that are foreign to traditional ARPGs and Souls-like games, so the puzzles can be a bit confusing. However, if you like playing games like Tomb Raider, then some of these puzzles will seem pretty familiar. As always, I encourage everyone to experiment and find out what you can discover. Thank you for watching, and I honestly hope that this video will help you understand what kind of game No Rest for the Wicked is and the kind of things it offers. If this video is something that you like, then maybe you'll give this one a watch as well. If you have played the game and can add to the topics we went over, then we encourage you to comment below. If you like the video and have questions or want to just say howdy, then comment below. We appreciate all interaction that the channel receives. Once again, thank you and have a great day.